On the River Clyde, but a sad one because midnight tonight sees the very end of the famous old Renfrew ferry, as it's been loved and known by generations of Clydesiders. Join us later with a few friends down the water, or rather across the water, for an unashamed wallow in nostalgia. What do you say about it?
Away with the ferries. Well, a fair day, one way or another it has been, doing at the Renfrew ferry on the River Clyde. As I was saying earlier, it's been making its wee 5-minute trip back and forth now for the best part of 32 years. It has the distinction of being the last of the old-style car ferries on the River Clyde, and it does score a definite hit over its more exotic brethren elsewhere today, because it is at least running. So again, without further ado, here's Hay Gordon.
Welcome back to the Clyde, getting rather windy now. Well, Scotland Today may have had 3,000 editions, but goodness knows how many crossings have been made by this old chain ferry between Renfrew on the south bank and Yoker to the north. But no more. The very last crossing is at midnight tonight, bringing to a close yet another chapter in Clydeside's history. There's been a ferry of one kind or another across here for centuries, but it really came into its own when Clydeside became the workshop of the empire. That was the age of steam, and steam it remained until 1952, when this diesel-powered ferry came into operation. It's not very long ago that there were numerous ferries across the Clyde, like the one further downstream between Erskine and Old Kilpatrick. Well, the new Erskine Road Bridge put pay to that one 10 years ago, and it became just a matter of time before the Renfrew ferry suffered the same fate. Well, its colourful history, which will unleash a flood of memories for many, is contained in this booklet published by the Renfrew Historical Society. And with me from the Society, Dan Hillcoat and George Donnelly. How are you feeling today, Dan, about the demise of the ferry?
Well, it's certainly going to be missed, and it's been in existence for quite a while. And the first ferry master that was appointed by the borough of Renfrew when they took over the running of it was my grandfather.
A really long family connection?
Yes.
Tell me more about that.
He was a sawyer to trade, and he was, his wage was 24 shillings a week, and he had the use of the ferry house in the North Bank.
What's your earliest memory of the ferry?
Well, it's a faint memory. When I was sent over to Blurt Hill Hospital with an infectious disease, it was Dr. Goldie Stevens who sent me over. I'd only be about 5-year-old at the time, and what sticks in my mind was I was taken over in a horse-drawn ambulance, and it was the swinging of the trams that stuck in my mind. There's nothing else that I've registered, you know, that's what it was.
Well, George, I don't suppose your memories go that far back.
No, not quite. But I do recall that I always knew when the ferry had broken down, and I was always glad of it because my father was one of the men who worked to repair the chains in the ferry, and when it broke down he was working all night, which meant an extra bag of sweeties the following week, which was most welcome.
How much will it be missed?
I think it will be missed a great deal by Renfrew people and Yoker people. It's an old faithful friend that it's one of the landmarks of the area, and I think it's going to be one of these situations where you don't realise how much you're going to miss her until she actually goes. And although the new vehicles that are ships that come on will certainly provide an adequate service, I'm sure, this is an old friend to the people of Yoker and Renfrew, and she'll be sadly missed by many.
Historically, what do you think its greatest moment was? I suppose it might have been what it did during the Clydebank Blitz. Would you agree with that?
Well, certainly it was one of the most prominent events where she ferried back and forward all night the emergency vehicles to deal with the fires and the injured during the Clydebank Blitz. Also during the launching of the Queen Mary, on that particular occasion she ferried something like 22,000 passengers across the river and 1,000 vehicles. So that was quite a day for her as well.
Yeah, what's difficult to remember is that this river at one point, I mean not so very long ago, really would have been chock-a-block.
Oh, very much so, very much so. The amount of shipping at that time was tremendous, and all along the river you had the shipbuilding yards and ships going up, the granary, and tremendous amount of traffic. You only have to look at some of the old photographs, films, to see just how busy she was.
George, has there not always been a great rivalry between Renfrew and Yoker about what the ferry should actually be called?
Well, I have seen some old postcards saying Yoker Ferry in the bottom, but when you look at the picture it says Renfrew on the ferry. I think she'll be fondly remembered by both people on both sides of the bank.
Nostalgia everywhere. We'll be rejoining the fun at the ferry.